We want to talk about, we're doing like servicing the gold, learning best lead conversion strategies, what's working, what's not. We're going to go after this into break, and we're going to come back and also kind of go even deeper into this. So these are two sessions that we definitely don't want to miss. Lead conversion is literally what everybody's talking about, how to turn expense into ROI. So before we dive in and start sharing what you guys are doing, and Barry and I are going to be sharing as well, would love if you guys would just give us a little background, who you are, what market, and what you've been up to, and then we'll jump in. So whoever, Brian, you're first on my screen. So you
go. All right, there you go. Yeah, you got to moderate, because otherwise I'm just going to sit here and look like this. So Brian Curtis, my market is Northwest Arkansas, which is the northwest corner of Arkansas. I actually live in the Denver metro, though, and I'm also a real estate coach. Been a real estate coach now for over 5 years. So that's my real true passion. I love running a team, love to do things like conversion. That's one of my big things. I'm sure that's why I got to be on this panel here, and that's kind of who I am. So our team will do about 500 sides this year. Our goal is to do about 1,000 next year. So we're building massively. We believe in that. And Ylopo has been a huge part of who we are. So apparently, I learned this at an in-person conference when we had those, that we were one of the first 20 clients with Ylopo. So I've seen a lot of changes. It's amazing. I love to watch the updates as they come out, because I'm like, holy crap, that had been great 3 or 4 years ago. Not that it's not great today, but when we started out, Ylopo was a different product, still a good one, but the advances, and that's probably the thing that's my favorite about this product, is it never stops getting better. So
Brian, the real reason you're here is your good looks. Let's just be honest.
if that's what I got to book on, Barry, I'm going to die broke. So. Gabe, you're muted.
Gabe, I think you're muted, man.
I was just seeing if you guys are going to tell me, like, be that friend, let me know. Michael Perna, let everybody know where you're at, a little bit about you.
Yes, sir. So I'm here in Southeast Michigan. We cover like the surrounding Detroit area. Been in the business 20 years this year, actually. Been a Ylopo user, definitely not one of the first 20, probably unfortunately one of the last 20 to sign up for Ylopo. I kind of did the wait and see thing, which was definitely not a good move by me. And yeah, we're on track to sell. I think we're on track to do about 850 units is where we're going to end up this year, which is a significant increase over last year, almost double. Did the coaching gig for a couple of years myself, decided to get out of that and then refocus back in on the team this past 18 months.
Love it. So huge. So we're talking about, lead conversion. You're bold. Brian, over 500, 850, that's insane. So I'd love to talk about when we're like surfacing the gold and using our tools and systems. We'd love for you to just, each of you take a few minutes, like just kind of talk about, we just came out of mindset, right? So for you, your team, how are we using the tools, mindset, systems, everything that are producing these numbers to start uncovering the opportunity is kind of the big picture here. How are we identifying that opportunity and bringing it up to the surface so our teams can start taking action on it?
Absolutely. So I get to go first. Okay, great. So, for us, and I think Barry talked about this earlier, there's so many things that Ylopo keys you into. And it's one of the things that I love about the system. It's like when somebody views a house 17 times, maybe we ought to reach out to that person. And I use that number as a joke, but it's not a joke. Like I've got things 25, 35, 75. When someone looks at when we're starting to see those, when we start to see those priority alerts, and, I don't know how many people Michael has in his database, but if he's doing 850 transactions a year, he's got thousands and thousands and thousands like we do. So we've got over 50,000 people sitting in a pond. They're all on Ylopo. How do we do that? So we set up notifications when those come up. Someone needs to reach out to them. So I would say this is going to sound really old school, and some of the stuff that I believe in is very old school. First thing you got to do is don't let any lead go untouched. That is the number one thing, in my opinion, the mistake that agents are making. We got people looking at a house 27 times and we don't call them or text them or reach out to them. We got people who came back to the website after 18 and a half months. Why would you not reach out to that person? The tools that we have are so much better today than they were just even 5 years ago, where our database was just this abyss of leads, right? Now we can have people literally raising their hand. Now, that doesn't mean 100% of the time people want to hear from us. It doesn't mean 100% of the time we convert it. But why would you call the person who hasn't come back to your website in 2 years when I've got a list of 100 people who were there yesterday? So for me, step one is pay attention to what the system is telling you. That's why you have the system. I mean, yeah, there's value in buying leads, but I think Barry said this earlier. We can buy leads from anyone. Ylopo is not unique in being a lead provider. Ylopo is unique in the opportunity to identify people who are taking activities that we need to contact. So I'll pass to Michael there, but that's my first thing is pay attention to what's going on in the system.
All right. So real quick though, I'm going to try and unpack a few things as you guys are going, because to a lot of us, I think certain terms of what you're saying might make sense, but I want to also make sure we're on servicing and describing what you're using if it doesn't. So you said something about ponds and how you're using ponds. I want to go a little deeper there on exactly what is a pond to you and how are you using that to help in surfacing this information and opportunity to your agents.
Okay, so let me start by saying I use Follow-Up Boss. I can't speak to other CRMs. I know that multiple CRMs have ponds, but ponds basically is a storage unit for leads, for lack of a better way to put it. And we organize ponds several ways, but mostly we have one gigantic, massive pond. I also have a past client pond. I have a real estate agent pond. I want to separate some of these people out, but the majority of our people sit in a massive pond. Why is that? Well, we used to do this. We used to have people who had 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 leads assigned to them. And that's chaos for those people. They can't monitor them. They can't. So on my team, we want you under 150 leads and ideally under 100, but at least under 150, which means if you're getting 30 leads a month on my team, which is the approximation of what you're getting, you're adding 30 leads every month, and then you're taking 30 leads out. So for me, it's constant and never ending improvement, constant top grading. So, I've got this new lead that I want to work with who wants to buy in the next 3 months. That means I got to go into my CRM, find somebody who I haven't been able to contact, somebody who's ghosted me. That person goes in the pond. The beauty of how the ponds work with Ylopo is, though, we've got set up when they become a Ylopo priority alert, someone can grab that lead again. So basically think of a pond as a storage group of people who are sitting there. We don't necessarily know what they want to do. They've told us maybe, or maybe we haven't been able to contact them. And now they're going to raise their hand and say, look, I'm somebody you need to talk to.
Got it. Love it. Love it. So when you're talking about the agents you're wanting them, I think you said 150 or 100, whatever that is. Those are people that they have claimed that they are on as the lead owner, so to speak.
Yes.
And then everybody else is in this pond, this holding bucket. And so if they do want to bring somebody or take it out of the pond, they're exchanging it really because you want them to focus on a smaller number of very active people versus everyone.
Yeah, I've got a really simple philosophy. If you had 100 people who said that they were going to transact in the next 6 months, and you just paid attention to that, watch this quick math. 50 of them lied. So now I'm down to 50 people, and 50% of those people work with somebody else. I just found a way with only 100 leads to close 25 transactions in the next 6 months. And I know that that was overly simplistic, but here's what people do. They hoard leads. Now I've got 2,700 leads assigned to me. And unfortunately, I have no idea what any of them are doing, why they're doing. I have no relationship with any of them. So literally every day, these leads are closing. They're just closing with somebody else.
Yeah, love that.
That's exactly right.
Awesome. All right. How about you, Michael?
And I got to say, I'm very similar. I'm very similar to Brian, and we do a couple of things different, I think. So we do utilize lead ponds. I use FirePoint at the moment. Gabe, you know that. I think you kind of set us up with that back in the day, which is where our journey began. But we do use lead ponds at a very high level. I set everybody up on listing alerts. I set everybody up on HomeBot that has a home that we can find. There was a question in there, I think, from Terry on that one. I don't think that there's such a thing as too many alerts. And then we also use retargeting, remarketing at a high level. Another thing that we've started doing is just a quarterly mailer out to the people that we can find addresses for, like an actual physical letter with a QR code on it that links back to our sites and different calls to action. I found that there's something nice about that physical letter, and they're already seeing our branding a couple of times a month. They're between the Ylopo alerts, the HomeBot, and the retargeting, remarketing. So once we get, I'm finding, like 5-6 months in, that second mailer, hey, I'd love to get you a home equity report. how much money do you have tied up in your property right now? What could you do with that? Like that second letter, a lot of times is prompting a lot of phone calls and is getting us an extra 5-6 listings a month. Barry, I kind of took that idea from you and didn't even tell you about it like 6 months ago. One thing I heard you say on a webinar was, we're finding our sellers through our buyers. And I don't know if you even remember that, but you put that out there and that was like gold to me. So we've been able to up our listing count 50% by treating our buyers as if they have a home to sell, because most of the time they really actually do. And so Ylopo has
Wow.
been a very large source of listings for us, and that hard mail is extremely effective,
Right.
which is funny. On the ponds, go ahead, Barry, I'm sorry.
I was going to just comment on that. I think that's huge. And a lot of people that have, again, we just came out of mindset, but got into that going into the call. And you said you're just treating them as if they have a home to sell. I'm guessing until they prove otherwise, does uncover that. And in a lot of markets are still showing that they have an inventory shortage. Now, where some markets are starting to see more coming in. But if you think about the mindset, and most people, if you're talking to your seller, what is their biggest concern? Right. Their biggest concern isn't, are they going to sell their home, or are they going to sell it fast, or are they going to even probably sell it for top dollar? Their biggest concern is, where the hell am I going to live?
Where
am
are
I
they
going to
gonna
be
go?
homeless? Right. So they're probably starting with the end in mind of looking at homes. And I think a lot of agents, when they're reaching out to these opportunities, aren't in that mindset, or not thinking about that person's journey and what they might be doing, and too focused on just the buy side. So I love that you guys have shifted that and saw a big increase because of it.
We have.
Hey,
And go ahead, Barry, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, it's fine. I'd like to take just a second too and speak to those that are listening right now and watching that are selling houses. So you're at your CRM every day, you're working really hard, and I want to apply the mindset section that we just had, because for my agents, I want them to fail 95 out of 100 times.
Mm-hmm.
I want 95 of their 100 conversations to be, I have an agent, leave me alone. I hate you, whatever. I don't actually want them to say that, but you get the picture. I want my agent, success for us is 5 out of 100 that we spoke to, and we have the right information. They have some kind of intent to buy or sell a home. And we're going to disposition that person as a hot, warm, or cold. So those are our 3 stages. And then we also have a new one that we've added, active or showing, meaning like, okay, I'm not nurturing anymore. We're meeting them at houses. So for you to fail 95 out of 100 times and have a good mindset, you've got to just recognize that you're not going to get 100 out of 100 times. And if the agents listening are being honest with themselves, the reason why they don't pick up the phone to call anybody is because they can't handle that rejection, and they need to get the source of that. So first, 95 out of 100 is going to fail. Second, one of the greatest things that Ylopo can do for you, Mr. or Mrs. Salesperson, is provide you an opportunity to talk to people that are at the middle of the funnel, at the middle of their journey. So these aren't the people that just woke up today and said, one day I want to buy a home, but they're also not necessarily the person that says, hey, I just registered because I'd like to buy a house tonight, right? It's somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And this took me about 5 years to learn. And I'm going to share with you, Mr. and Mrs. Salesperson, something that's really impacted my agents and I and our ability to close middle of funnel leads. People don't know what they want yet. Because they don't know what they want yet, they don't think they need an agent. So when you call them and you can feel on the phone, they're trying to get off the phone with you, and it's because they don't think they need you yet. They think they need to dot their I's and cross their T's, figure out neighborhood, price range, loan amount. Then when it's time to place an order, I'm using that phrase on purpose, place an order to have the front door opened, then they'll call you. You're the door opener. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of your role in their journey. So because of that, you have to learn how to have a different conversation. And this is especially difficult for people that are used to talking to people that are at the bottom of the funnel. So if you work with your sphere all day and you work referrals all day, you're used to people calling and saying, I need you. And you're saying, sure, how can I help you? right? And they love it. Oh, I'm so glad you're so responsive. Well, if you call a middle of funnel lead and say, how can I help you? They're going to say you can't and hang up. And it's because you're having the wrong conversation. You need to have a different kind of conversation with someone that's in the middle of their journey. And then the last piece, so first piece is 95 times out of 100, you're going to fail. Second piece is you need to learn how to talk to middle of funnel. Third, because they don't know what they want yet, you have to learn how to teach them through questions. So my favorite example is our opener. Instead of asking the lead, what kind of home do you want? And them saying they don't know, they're just browsing. We say, whenever you do decide to move, what are you hoping to change about where you live right now? And by answering that question, they're learning along with me. It's no different than going to a therapist, right? You sit down with a therapist and they ask you questions, and those questions surface your true feelings about a matter. So didn't mean to like take over or anything, but those are the 3 steps for us on surfacing opportunity and mixing in the mindset. When you guys, if you allow me to talk anymore at the end of this session, I'll share some signals that we're using inside the CRM as well.
Yeah, Barry, I'd like to piggyback on that because I do think that one of the first steps when you're talking about leads is understanding where that person is in their journey. And you may or may not know that based on what they initially did, but it's crazy to think, and Ylopo leads, we've closed plenty of them. I'm not saying they're bad leads, but they're also a good chance that they may not be right now leads. Stop treating every lead like it's a right now lead. So for example, when we call a Ylopo lead, hey, Barry, this is Brian with Curtis Realty Group, just reaching out today. I saw you made some inquiries on our website. I was wondering, are you planning on making a move soon, or are you just window shopping? And the reason I want to bring up that window shopping script, and shout out to my cash call partner, Dale Archdeacon, that's his script. I stole it. But one of the things that I want to do is get in front of people, right? Every agent I've ever spoken to has said, I'm better in person. Great. So make it an objective to get in front of somebody. And it doesn't have to be a traditional way. So, as far as I'm concerned, Zoom is better than phone. In person's better than Zoom. We can hierarchy these things. But when I ask that window shopping question, if I build some rapport and go through, one of the things I ask at the end, and this is effective about 15 to 20% of the time. Hey, Barry, by the way, you mentioned that you were just window shopping. I got an idea. Why don't we go do some actual window shopping? I've got time on Friday or Saturday. I'm going to send you about 10 houses. Pick 3 of them. We'll just go take a look at them. I know that you're not ready to buy, but this will help me be a better agent for you when I see the house that I know that you want. And that way, when you're further down the journey, you'll be able to have a better idea. And so will I. So I've got time on Friday or Saturday. Which of those days works better for you? And I want you guys to think about this. And this is my TV story. I own a LG OLED TV. I wanted it for years. And you know why I ended up buying it? Because I kept going back to Best Buy. And every time I went into Best Buy, I walked over and I saw that stupid television. I'm like, I got to have that damn thing. If I wouldn't have gone to Best Buy, I never would have bought that TV. So what am I saying? How many people who are 6 months out, a year out, 18 months out, go look at a house and go, damn, I think I want to live here. Those people, when you get in front of them, you don't have to sell them. They're going to sell themselves if they like what you're looking at. So think about this. And this is one of the things I think people need to be more strategic about. I use that window shopping script because I'm going to use it again at the end, assuming it goes well. Be strategic in the way you're talking to people. Don't just randomly talk. Come up with a plan, be organized, and be ready when you get on those phone calls.
So something I want to unpack there a little bit that you said too. People also don't understand what are their options right now. So that script that you use, when you, first of all, you acknowledge that you are listening to what they said, because I know you're not doing anything anytime soon, but what I'm going to do now, you're providing service for is I'm going to send over about 10 listings. Pick a couple. Even though you're not ready to do anything, I'd love to take you out and let you know. Most buyers who are just looking, and again, it's that mindset. We know if we're doing online lead gen, especially Google and Facebook, they are just looking. So if we just expect that going in, we're gonna have more confidence in the call because we already know the outcome. I just want to have a freaking conversation with these people, but
Absolutely.
They don't know that there's an option to possibly just go look at a couple homes, right? So you're educating them, letting them know where you can provide service. You're now meeting them face to face. Everybody else blew them off because I'm in all of these CRMs all the time. I'm seeing this, whether it was at FirePoint or now with Ylopo or whatever. I'm seeing almost everybody who responds just looking or not looking right now or on hold, whatever, completely get ignored. They don't know they have that option, right? So giving them that option, now you're meeting them face to face, you're providing service and solidifying where they're at. And I know you got something there, Michael, but I want to unpack a little bit more because you guys are doing this, Brian. How often does that time frame shrink up because they just got a hell of a lot more excited because they actually got inside a couple homes versus waiting until spring or summer?
At least 50% of the time, that time frame shrinks. Some people have, we talk about this in communication skills. There's objections and conditions. When someone has a condition, in other words, I'm going to move after my kid graduates from high school, you're probably not pushing that person up. They have a condition. When people just and here's the reality. Most people just kind of go through the motions every day of their life. I hate to say that. We're all entrepreneurs. We're go-getters, and we think that people are like us. They're not. Most people get up, do their 9 to 5, come home, do the same exact thing over and over again. No judgment in that, but all we're doing is pattern interrupting them a little bit. And this happened to me. This is how I bought my last house. My wife is also a real estate agent, and I went and showed houses with her because what the heck, she was showing houses. I was like, well, I'll go with her. We can hang out in between showings, and otherwise I'm just going to sit at home and watch TV. And we started talking. We're like, hey, I like this. I like this. Before we knew it, 3 months later, we bought a house. We were not going to buy another house. So I know this happens firsthand, and it'll happen, and it works. And again, my number is about 50%. I haven't actually tracked that whole thing. It's a little bit more of a complicated data thing, but about half the time people are like, you know what? I mean, I've had people do it literally that day. You know what, Brian, never mind. We're writing an offer today. It happens. So
question I got for you, Brian. So if you roll that script to 10 people, how many of those 10 are going to say, yeah, let's go look at homes?
1 to 2.
1 to 2. And that's it. And that's all you need, guys. I mean, think about that. Think about the size of the checks and what we're dealing with here. And then think back to just the pain of, okay, shoot, I might take somebody out that's not actually going to buy in a year. But at the end of the day, guys, if you're getting 1 to 2, even just 1 to 2 a week, how does that change your life? Right. And to Brian's point, and Gabe, I'm sorry for cutting you off, but I'm going to cut you off right here. Sorry, man. I do want to note the hierarchy of communication, and Brian is moving people up through the hierarchy. Right. And you want to get to that peak position, which is belly to belly with the client, right? Email's the lowest. Text is second lowest because you can't get intonation and inflection properly through a text. You just can't do it, especially when you don't know.
I agree.
Phone's better. Zoom is even better because you can see somebody's emotion on their face, but it's when you get face to face with somebody that you actually make a real human connection. And that's something I think a lot of people miss. We tell our people the same thing. Give them one free ride. The National Association of Realtors puts out some sort of stat every year that I'm not even going to bother quoting, but more people than less people will work with the first agent that they meet belly to belly. Just be that first person.
Well, Michael, you're creating familiarity, comfort, right?
Yep.
So that's why that in person, I totally agree with Brian, right? Zoom's better than the call, and the in person is better than the Zoom, but you're just creating a comfort level. And, you just need to ask them questions, find out a lot about their history, who they are. It's so rare that, matter of fact, I was kind of down on myself because I had gone to dinner this last weekend. It's kind of like a double date. And my friend started dating this new woman. And at the, the next day I was reflecting on the dinner. I'm like, you know what? I did not ask her enough questions about what does she do for a living and where did she grow up? And it just dawned on me, like, it was too late. I mean, not too late, like I can do that next time, but I kind of learned from it, I had the self-awareness, and you're just going to create such a bond with people if you're not just trying to sell, like, right, isn't it a great time to buy and all that kind of stuff. Just like find out about them and then create a connection, like identify with them. So there's something in their story that you'll be able to identify with. There's something in their story you'll be like, oh my God, I grew up in the same town, or, oh my God, that happened to me. Like, oh, like, right. And now there's this kind of bond. The other thing too, is I think you can indirectly sell, which is better than directly sell, and kind of hit them with this, especially right now, this 1-2 punch, which is not really a disservice. It's kind of helping them, but you can say, yeah, like totally get it. And what's funny, I was working with I was working with this guy, or, whatever the name is, right? And, he didn't realize like how much he actually qualified for. He didn't realize how low the rates are and how like no cost the loan was. And he read this research report, had the research report, like this market's going to increase like 12% over the next 12 months. Well, if you're looking at a $450,000 home, right, that's, $100,000 or whatever the number is, right? So like, you're not telling him to do it. You're saying is that your friend who did it earlier than he was originally going to do it because he realized what really was available to him. So like trying to provide information, and I don't know, like maybe you guys can riff on that and do better than what I just said, but just providing information and showing them that maybe they shouldn't wait. And it was like the first thing the one thing my real estate professor told me in college, which was don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Right. And so getting somehow to that concept and being a teacher without trying to overly aggressively sell, because I just don't think they're thinking about all of the numbers. And if you think about all of the numbers, the lowest interest rates ever, incredible options, what you can qualify for, the fact that, home prices are still going to be doing this, they might want to transact sooner than later, right? And not have to get into the market 12 months from now when that $450,000 home is $510,000.
And the interest rate's a point higher.
Yeah.
Can't go lower as far as I know.
Well, we've run out of room, but anyway, go ahead, Michael.
I saw a question there. I'm trying to keep an eye on the questions as they're floating up through the chat as well.
Got a few going for you. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there was one in there. The question was something to the effect of, what if you're showing a home that they can't actually qualify for? The example, $800,000 house, but they only qualify for X, right? My answer is always one free ride. Get into the home, show them the home. 9 times out of 10, it's the opposite. They can qualify for more than they think. A lot of times their lender just gave them a number based on that conversation. Hey, I'm looking for roughly this in roughly this area for roughly this. And the loan officer comes back. He did it to me. I'm home shopping.
Michael,
right
you're probably like, well, yeah, what happens if I can connect you with another lender who actually qualifies you for this home?
And that's it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I just got an accepted offer on a home for myself. And I had been looking literally $400,000 less because that's what my original lender said that I could qualify for. And he was impressioned by what I told him. I'm looking for a home about this square footage, about this. And then I saw this gem come on and I was like, hey man, can I get it? He's like, oh yeah, man, you're good. So a lot of times just get in there, have a real conversation with them. Most people can qualify for more than they think right now because interest rates are lower. And honestly, if they can't, great, sell them the 600 down the road.
They course correct. And again, just getting in front of them. They're going to work primarily with that first person they meet face to face. Right. So get them out there, give them the option to look. And we're seeing the same exact thing. A lot of people are coming in saying, oh, well, here's my budget, or maybe they gave it to Raya. They don't really know. They maybe got it on an online tool or they got it months ago. And getting them to our lenders now, especially in-house, if it's a lender we haven't or that we don't work with, getting them qualified more and their buying power is going up. So again, if you aren't asking the questions or offering them the services that they're not aware, you're going to miss those opportunities.
And a very important point, don't accept when they say, I don't qualify for this. Don't accept that, right? Because if you happen to get them to your lender partner and does qualify them for more or a lower rate or whatever it is, well, guess what? You just made a friend for life, right? Because it was your insight, your connection that got them into the home that they love.
And don't forget, they just raised the conventional loan limits, right? I mean, to 625. Our lender's honoring it right now, and so are many of them across the board. So what that means is 781 at a 20% down still fits the FNMA guidelines. That's a big number.
Love it.
In Detroit, that's a huge number. That's like 4 blocks.
Yeah, we'll move on quickly. But I mean, I had a really weird story. I bought a home last year and was talking to a mortgage person at a bank. It's a nationwide bank. And, basically he's like, look, this is the percentage you're going to have to put down. That's it. Like, this is the percentage you're going to have to put down. This is the rate, right? I ended up getting connected with a mortgage person, the same bank, just in a different state, same bank. And I was able to put less down, got a better rate. And the other guy was telling me, like, this is it. Like, this is what the bank's going to do. And just wasn't true. You just got to speak to a lot of people. Yeah.
Well, Howard, I love what you're saying, because one of the things that happens is real estate agents, and be careful, I'm not telling you to become a loan officer, but I was a loan officer, so I'm kind of biased here. But I can't tell you the number of times I've talked to people and they've said some statement like, well, Brian, I can't buy right now. I'm saving 20% down. Whoa, wait, why? Okay. So I understand that, but is that a choice you're making, or is that something that somebody told you? Oh, I've been told you got to put 20% down. Okay. And you can, that's an option. You can go through there. Being knowledgeable about mortgage is, as you were talking earlier, this thought came to my head. The people who get paid a lot of money, people who are successful, they don't get paid for showing houses. They don't get paid for opening doors. They get paid for solving problems. And that's in any industry. And so to solve a problem, I have to be able to understand it, and then I have to be able to have a solution for it. So those of you who don't know anything about mortgage, I'm not dogging on you for that. You need to learn about mortgage. You need to be able to talk, because guess what? 8 out of 10 agents don't know much more than Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, RD. That was the extent of their knowledge. When you can talk about what works and how it works and what you do, it puts you up here right away. And I've converted a lot of people that way. I converted somebody one day because their lender told them their husband needed to get a higher credit score. He did, except what I did is I took him off the loan. His credit sucked, but she made 125 grand a year on her own. She's only buying a $200,000 house. She didn't need him. They were going to wait 6 months. I solved that problem. When you solve problems, you get paid.
Look, consultants,
Yeah, that's a great
advisors,
point.
consultants, advisors, psychologists,
and-
are all expensive. They're all expensive, right?
Yeah.
You ever pay consulting fees? You ever pay, advisory fees? You ever pay therapist fees? Like, they're all really expensive. Well, guess what? When you're repping the buyer, like, they don't care if you're a salesperson like that. No one, like, they never want to pay salespeople, right? But if you can shift the conversation, which I want to get a little more granular here and have Barry and Gabe and you guys like get into what in the conversation exactly can they say and do to shift this perception of this consumer that you're a salesperson, right? And that's
I was
what drives
actually
me
getting ready to
crazy.
go there.
Yeah, that's what drives me crazy about this whole like, oh, real estate people shouldn't get 3%, 3%, or shouldn't get 6%. Like, but they don't get it. Like, you're not salespeople, right? You're consultants, advisors, psychologists, deal makers. Like, you're a lot of things, right? And so, what, guys? Can we ask you a question? What can the agents on this call do and interweave into the conversation and then the interaction to move the consumer's perception of you as a salesperson to a trusted advisor? Yeah, Michael, you want to go? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and Brian, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you on getting into the mortgage game. Only because like I do own a mortgage company as well. I just want to put that out full disclosure. And I saw the question, how do I find out more about mortgages? I very purposefully teach my people as little as possible about mortgages, because I want them to do is get into the home and be the connector, right? And be, hey, Brian, that's a great question about loans. Let me call Jeremy on over at Silverline Lending. Let's get him on the phone right now. In fact, let's sort this thing right now, because they're in it every day. They know infinitely more. And then as they start trusting Jeremy, Jeremy's going to reach back around and say, yeah, you got to call Mike back on this next house as well, because they're on your team, right?
I agree with that.
Get them connected
Absolutely.
with as many of your team members as you can, which includes the mortgage person. So I purposefully, when it comes to consumers, I just kind of play dumb, like I don't know anything about mortgages, and let's get this other guy on the phone. Because
and let me tell you why I agree and disagree. First of all, I definitely want to connect my preferred lender, but secondly, a lot of times they're talking to another lender already.
Yes.
And so
Agreed.
That's when your knowledge becomes very, very powerful, because if you just say you should talk to my guy, they're going to say I'm good. But if you can say you should talk to my guy, because it feels like maybe you haven't been advised on all these different types of loans and different options, and my guy focuses on creating a strategy for you, not just giving you it allows you to transfer. Again, you shouldn't be pulling people's credit. You shouldn't be, doing that stuff. But go ahead, Barry.
I think you guys are just like put it together. I think you're both really like in the middle. It's sort of like, look, it's going to be no harm, no foul to talk to someone else. But I saw them work with someone who another lender had told them like this was it, and like you got to talk to this guy because Jim solved that problem, and like it was amazing what he did. And I'm hearing that this is what's going on. Like we're seeing it in our network, and we've got. Look, if you come as like someone who has this professional team, right, then you're just going to get and really, really seem established and professional to that consumer. Barry, I know you wanted to chime in on this.
Yeah. So, one of the things that has to happen when you're talking to a person on the phone, they're deciding if they want to trust you or not. and they're deciding if you're a telemarketer, a salesperson, a counselor. And so everything you say, how you say it, when you pause, all of those things matter. And so a couple of quick things that I want people that sell houses that are calling leads to jot down. One, when the person tells you why they don't think they need you. So it doesn't matter, you know, some people call those objections, but I'm just going to reframe it and say, when they tell you why they don't need your help. And I said this yesterday, I need you to not act like it's bad news, but you're being polite. So I need it to be good news. So if they say they're waiting a year, I don't want you to kind of have this downward intonation. Oh, that's okay. I'll still help you, right? That's bad news, but I'm being polite. What I need to do is I need to say, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm having for dinner tonight. How do you know what you're doing a year from now? Please teach me. I think that's amazing. You need to compliment their objection. First of all, it's disarming, and you're making the person feel heard, not sold, but heard. And then from there, when you decide the direction you think they need to go, instead of, because we're talking, in my opinion, the middle of funnel, instead of bringing up the question of, have you been pre-approved, to a person that you haven't met yet, and you're just quickly talking on the phone, what you need to do is you need to get the conversation there in that direction, so without actually bringing it up. So Brian, you actually taught me this. Instead of asking the person, do you have an agent? You say, have you had a chance to look at homes with another agent yet? That's going to get me to that. I'm going to find out if they have an agent. I'm not going to ask, have you been pre-approved? I'm going to say, hey, do you got anybody? You have a family member in the business that you trust, right? It's going to get me there. All these things are very subtle, and this is why people don't do it. Agents don't convert middle of funnel leads very well because they only know how to be transactional. Would you like fries with that? Right? Do you want a large Coke or a small Coke? Right? Like, they don't know how to like lead the people in the direction they need to go. So that's that's how I teach it. And Brian, I know that you do somewhat.
I think that's huge too. And it's leading. And I think what the problem is when we realize it's not that transaction today, most agents are checking out. And Kevin, Barry just answered your question, I think, a little bit. I'd love to hear everybody else's feedback too. But it was, what conversations do you have with people that are middle of funnel to keep them engaged or to get them engaged? Right. And again, I think a big part of it and what we use, and ask everybody to have it on their laptop. And I don't know why mine's not here, but we have 2 sticky notes. But one of them, and we even put it into our fill forms. Anytime you have a conversation, we just put a fill form instantly into Follow Boss, and it says, use tell me more. Tell me more whenever you can, right? And I think what we need to do is we just need to listen and shut up a lot of the times and get them talking. They will start telling us where they are in their journey. They're going to start telling us what's important to us. And what happens when you say, it's interesting, I love that you guys are thinking about moving, you're just starting that look. So tell me more, what has you thinking about making that move? Tell me more, what has you thinking in this neighborhood, or what is it? You don't have to start asking bed, bath, school district. You get them talking. And what happens when you do that is all of a sudden they have this moment where they realize, oh shit, I do need a little bit of help, or this person can offer me some advice. They didn't realize it until they start talking, right? By just getting them to engage, and using tell me more is such an easy way to get them talking and lead them to the information you need. Doesn't mean you're leading them to overcome objections for a transaction today. It's just, where am I now putting them in my funnel so I know where they fall into my follow-up.
That's
Guys,
awesome, dude.
I'm going to do to borrow from that remember that old technology Clubhouse? Remember that? I'm going to do
That's like a year ago.
Yeah. Remember how hot that was? I'm going to do a room reset. Okay. So I want the panelists to think about this room reset. This session that we're in right now, Surfacing the Goal, Learn the Best Lead Conversion Strategies, deep dive on the precise strategies for new versus old versus seller versus buyer leads. That is the room reset. The next session is going to get into lead nurture and communication strategies, procedures, and scripts. So I'm just going to go back into that. This right now is a deep dive on the precise strategies for new, old, seller, and buyer leads. Hopefully I didn't throw you off. That's the room reset.
So actually, that's where I wanted to go. We kind of got into some scripting. I would love to know, because we don't treat all opportunities the same, right? Similar, but there's some differences. So I would love to know, again, let's talk about our existing databases, right? We've all been doing this a while, or we've all got a sphere, something coming into this. What are each of you doing with your existing databases or these old cold leads that you're getting activity to work on? What are you guys doing and how are you working them?
Okay, I'll go. A great thing, and I completely stole this from Robert Slack. Like, start sending these people push listings. Like, I think I listened on Clubhouse, if of all things, Howard. On Clubhouse, I heard Robert Stack say that he hired 4 VAs. The only thing that they do all day long is do push listings. And it's a fabulous thing to do on Monday morning. Now, do I sit down with 100,000 leads and push list them? No. But if I'm an agent on my team on Monday morning, I look for anything new that came out that's relevant to my team. And I push that to people. Hey, Gabe, saw this house, thought it might be interesting for you. Bam. And that push listing, I'm not saying you're going to get 100% response rate, but you're also probably not going to get a bunch of, you're such a jerk. Why are you bugging me? Because I gave you something at some point in time, in theory, you told me you wanted. So even if you don't want it anymore, you're probably not going to be a jerk about it. You're probably going to get a very positive response
Do
from
you
that.
feel, Brian and Barry and Gabe and Mike, do you feel like this is something that is easily or not easily trainable for like an offshore VA? Exactly, through Zoom training, exactly how to do push listings to your whole database? Because I think it's brilliant.
100%.
I think it's an action that we don't really want to do personally.
Right? No, it sounds boring, right?
It's really boring. It takes a lot of time. It's time consuming. And you can pay someone, I don't know,
$4 an hour,
$4 an hour to do something really repetitive. And you could check on them. Like, your time is valuable to check on it, right? The push listings being done well and right and relevant and all that. But it's guaranteed. And again, this is where we get into, let's keep growing your database, keep growing your database.
So I don't mean to interrupt you, Tyler, but this is very important. This is in the chat. I'm a VA from the Philippines, and that's what I do. That's what the chat says. So clearly you can hire someone to do it.
And I think it's brilliant. It's helpful. And I'm assuming that what happens to Robert Slack at scale is he just gets not unsolicited. They've been solicited by the push listings. He gets responses. Like, he basically probably now could even predict, I will get 7.5%, or not that high, whatever. I will get 3.2% response rate. Last week it was 2.9. This week it's 3.3. Like, he's got probably that down, right? For percentage response rate. And then people that can respond to that. I think it's brilliant. Like, it's pure gold.
I'm good at stealing people's stuff.
Yeah, we do push listings. We also do a lot of conversational style mass emailing. And when I say conversational style, typically the subject of the email is a question like, whatever happened, or do you agree, or are you still looking around Virginia Beach, or I found something around 123 Smith Street that I thought you might like. So it's always some kind of engaging question. Some little details, all lowercase. It never looks like a well laid out subject line. And then the body of the email typically will just say something like, let me know, or, let me know, I think I found something. And then Follow Up Boss has that last 5 preview. And so what it does is it says, like, the last 5 properties that the lead looked at while they were on my website will show up as thumbnails in the email. Now, I don't say I put a few down here below, because I'm sending this email to 5,000 people. I don't know who's looked at homes recently, or who's going to show a thumbnail versus not. So I'm not even going to mention that I put the 5 properties below. I'm just going to say, hey, let me know. I think I might have found a few that you like. And then for most of them, there's going to be thumbnails of properties that are links to my Ylopo site. And when I do this, I'm not exaggerating, our database just lights up like a Christmas tree, because then priority alerts start triggering, Raya starts engaging, all of our automations start kicking in, and it all comes through push listing text, last viewed, merge fields and email. And, at scale, this works really well.
Okay, so
Well,
Barry,
marketing-
just repeat that again so everyone can write it down. Because there was also a question, why is push listings better than setting them up for instant showing alerts? I think it just means for setting them up for MLS listing alerts. But
91% of text messages are read, 12% of emails are read.
that's it. Say it again.
100%.
Yeah.
91% of text messages are read, 12% of emails are read.
Right.
Plain
so
and
those,
simple.
those push listings are going to happen through text. The MLS listing alerts are going to happen through email. And then Barry, sum up again the different things you do to get the reverse communication.
Well, see, the idea here is instead of with email marketing, I don't think people read email, and so I need to write the email like I would a text message.
Yep.
And I'm not making a big deal. Like, I'm not saying, "Wow, look what I found. Check it out below," because that's kind of overselling it.
Mhm.
I'm just kind of like suggesting, again, going back to what I said to you guys earlier, I'm not stating what I'm giving. I'm just kind of leading them down that road and letting them feel like they're coming to their own conclusion. So then I'm just injecting a merge field of last viewed properties in the body of the email. And so if you have a CRM that has integration with Ylopo, the IDX behavior of the lead, so the search patterns and the homes they view, filter into your CRM, and you can use that data to then empower your automation. So, you can also merge field the address of the last house they looked at. So sometimes I might email and say, "John, are you still looking around merge field last address of last house? John, are you still looking around 123 Smith Street ? And so it's like, wow, that's interesting. And they open it. And as Brian said, with text messages, nobody is still to this day, agents are not texting links to homes. They're sending screenshots of Zillow or a website. And so we're providing a very concierge-like experience.
Yeah.
So
And again,
what are the different granular scripts on the push listings do you guys experiment with, like, that your VAs can send out, like, "Hey, Gabe, thought you might find this listing interesting." But like, do you ever ask them questions like, "Is this helpful? Do you want to keep doing it?" Like what are the different scripts that you might have the VAs experiment with when they're sending out the push listings?
So I'm going to share something, and I shared this a month or so ago. Laura Combrick and I worked on this, and it's using this concept. You can do VAs. We also did some automation through Agent Legend. But again, we're kind of talking. The question was bringing up how are we engaging our old leads, bringing them back in and servicing it back to the top. So something that we did. This is for at least 120 days old that are cold or inactive, right? We can also use the merge fields. I love what Barry is talking about, last property view and all that. But sometimes we have all these opportunities we generate that don't ever look at anything, go cold. So what we did is we built about this 90-day campaign, and we were playing with voicemail drop and then following up with a text. All right. So, but we're using links going back to our home search site in different ways. So the voicemail, I don't need to play it for you. It's about 39 seconds, but it's basically, "Hey, Gabe Cordova here, Core Group Denver. Hey, we're not sure if you ever bought that home or not. If you're still looking, what I'm going to do just in case, I'm going to shoot you a link to the recently updated homes available in the Denver area because the market has been crazy and we're finally seeing inventory. If you have any questions, let me know." 15 minutes later, text goes out, and we're going for engagement, because if I can re-engage, and again, we're talking old inactive leads, and we automate this. If I can engage them on the website, not only now is it filling my list, and we're going to go deeper into these later about last active and all that, but now it's triggering priority alerts. Now it's triggering behavior texts. And this goes on. We do it 2 days in a row, goes on for 90 days. But again, 120-day-old leads that are not talking to us cold. And we are seeing 48% of the people are interacting with that, meaning that they're responding to us or reaching out. And yes, some are saying stop or I already bought, and we're going to go deeper into this later, but we have scripts for all of those. If I can get more of my 120-day-old Ylopo PPC, any of these leads interacting with me, I just want to start conversation. So they're, yes, we did buy. And if they did do that, then perfect. Congratulations. A lot of our homeowners love monitoring their equity. Here's a link to our online equity report. I'm sending them to the HomeBot report, right? Oh, we're on hold. Hey, Barry, thanks for letting me know and updating. When you say on hold, are you waiting till later this year or next spring? but it's a tactic of using voicemail and links to your home search site for these old leads. We all get obsessed and focused just on the new stuff, which is important because that's filling our funnel. But again, part of this room reset is also what are we doing with our old, cold, inactive leads? And VAs can push these. You can automate some of this, but utilize the textable links, whether it's in the push listings or great pages on your website, like recently updated homes, the home valuation page, your blog page, and we'll go deeper into those later, actually in the session right after lunch on how to actually use these for conversion. But it's a great way to utilize the tools that you have.
Yeah, Gabe, and we're doing the same thing. We're using call action agent legend basically can do the exact same thing. We have about the same contact rate. Here's the thing I want to piggyback on what you said. You're saying you're doing leads that are 120 days old. I have leads on those campaigns that are years old, and I still have the same contact rate. So again, now it's funny because I think Barry mentioned the 95-5 rule. I love that rule. I use the same thing. I've said for years, if you hit 300 in baseball, you're a Hall of Famer. If you hit 5% in real estate, you're a Hall of Famer in my world. Like most agents don't even come close to 5%, but if you can get 5%, you're killing it. And there is gold in your database. I don't care who you are, whether you got 1,000 leads or you got 80,000 leads, there's gold in there and they rot. And I don't know a better way to say that, but they just sit there and do nothing. Re-engage them in agent legend, call action. Those kind of drips are fabulous. And by the way, if you don't want those products, do them manually. And here's what I mean. Gabe's got a 48% contact rate with a computer. Think about that. It's not his great personality. It's not his
Wait a second.
that does other things, Gabe. But my point is this: if you literally followed the exact same pattern without using an automation to do what Gabe's doing, you would also have a 48% contact rate. I would like to talk to the agent who actually has a 48% contact rate. They're very few and far between. So, but you can do this if you're like, man, I don't want to spend automation. I don't like automation. Just create the same thing as a pattern with follow-up tasks every day in your CRM. It works just as well.
100%.
And that's a great point, Brian, Michael, Gabe. These are all really amazing points. And I want to point out here as well that a lot of you aren't getting engagement because you're making it about the relationship. You know that if you can form a relationship with this person, you'll win. That's the same reason they don't want to work with you. They want to focus on the house. And so we're sending these bombs saying, what our favorite color is and how long we've been agents and our dog's name. And they could care less because we're like applying for the job and they're not hiring. But when you're sending them what they want, they are going to engage it, and then you become a part of the discussion. So make it about the properties, not about you. If you make it about the properties, which is focusing on what the consumer wants, not what you want, you're going to end up winning. You are, by making it about what they want, not what you want.
No, 100%. I'm going to add on to that a little bit too. You're also not going to get 48% the one-off, right? The reason you're hiring a VA to do this is because they're consistently doing it. The reason you're going to automate it in call action or agent legend is because it's going to keep happening. That 48%, a majority of our replies are after the third voicemail and the third text, right? And what we see most agents doing, especially if you're doing it manual, it just happens, unfortunately, is you're not as consistent. You're not getting the touches. We've heard this over and over and over for years, that it takes more than one touch, takes multiple outreaches, to get that call back or to get that answer, even on our hand raisers, right? We're going deep into this in the next session, but I'm going to go through my list. Our hand raiser list is our number one list. And when they raise their hand, we call a minimum 7 times before we take that hand raiser tag off. And we're finding a lot of them. These are people who had a showing request, info request, are not picking up or responding to us until we get into that 4th, 5th, 6th outreach. And these are hand raisers, not just new leads, literally hand raisers, because they were busy. They weren't ready yet. The other sticky note, yet.
Yeah, no, that's good, Gabe. And one more thing too, I want to share, since, when Howard reset the room, you need to decide who you want to focus on. Do a search in your CRM and save it. Okay, so like save search filters in one CRM, smart lists in another, save lists in another, and you need to make it a workflow. One of the things that made my masterclass for Ylopo so popular was I numbered the lists. So my agents go to number 1 first, go figure, right? Then 2, then 3. And so I made a decision what I wanted them to focus on, and then I numbered them. And then every day they just go through those lists. And it just so happens with Follow Up Boss, I can filter based off of last communication. So if I have a list number 1 that says, all the appointments that we've set for you that you haven't tried to reach in 3 days, as soon as they try to reach them, that name disappears for 3 days because I'm filtering the list on singularly just people that my agents need to speak with right now that they haven't tried to reach recently. So make your searches and make your saved searches in your CRM a new workflow. And you'll know that you're doing this wrong when you click on a search and you start scanning the names to see who you can contact. If you're doing that, instead of being your gregarious, funny, happy self, selling homes, shaking hands, and kissing babies, you're using the pragmatic and logical side of your brain. And what I've watched is I've removed the planning side of things out of my agent's ballpark and just let them focus on talking to humans. They're actually spending it's up now to 35% more time following up with leads because they're not having to plan anymore. They're just talking to people.
I love that, Barry. It's great. Think about the profile of a successful agent. As a rule, it's not extremely organized.
Right.
It's not their personality. They're people. They're out talking to people. They're making friends. They're influencing people. And you say database and they look like they're going to cry because none of us, Barry's probably like me. I don't like my database, but I know it's where all my money's at. And so that's why we do it. The database is your money, and you've got to do some of the boring stuff, or like Barry's doing, have someone do the boring stuff for you so you can go out and slay it. And I think that's a great idea.
So I think Barry and Gabe, let's add this either to Bootcamp Day or the Success Summit days in Vegas. Let's get in the weeds about showing them all the possible lists and how to make those lists. Because, Barry, I'm really grooving on what you're saying. If I'm an agent and I've got the system and I kind of open up my laptop in the morning and I go into Follow Up Boss or whatever CRM I'm working in, it's just overwhelming, right? Like, I don't really know where to start. I'm probably going to go do something else.
Right.
Oh, I got to call that lender. Oh, I got to go call that appraiser. Like, I'm just like that. That's not my comfort zone. And what you're doing is you're creating, now I think you also as a team leader need to keep people accountable to go through these lists in a process oriented way, but that's a whole nother topic. But I think that if I'm an agent and I know exactly, we talk about this art of triage, what's number 1, who's the dying patient? Who's the number 2, the seriously ill patient? Number 3, who's like reasonably ill? Who's got scratches, right? And think about that in terms of our world. Who's the most likely to want to talk to us today? Who's the next most likely to want to talk to us today? Who's the next most likely to want to talk to us today? If we can really, in Las Vegas, first week of April, Bootcamp or Success Summit, really create this plan for everybody and how to exactly to create these smart lists, let's do it for sure. Because this is pure gold.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I'm sharing my screen right now.
Oh yeah, awesome.
This actually is what the masterclass is based off of. You can get these if you're a Follow Boss user, list 1 through 12. If you're prospecting, right? Like new not contacted, new needs contact. These are old leads. These are RIA conversations. These are all the people I spoke to that are active. And it just takes you through. But my needs have changed. Now I have ISAs setting appointments. And so now my agents are just they know to go to the $ list every day now. Follow up on all your appointments that we've set. Follow up on all the people that that have been on our website. All the people that I've nudged. All the people that are hot and warm that we haven't spoken to. So now, because my needs have changed, I created a new set of lists on just managing relationships. They're not my agents aren't prospecting anymore. The ISAs are doing all that. And now they're just in the people business. They're just focused on people. So make the list your workflow, regardless of the CRM. You will make more money as a result.
Yeah, this
Jason
is a homework lesson
chat,
for.
can you get these lists to be default lists in Follow Up Boss? And Sophia on our team said, Jason, yes, you can ask Follow Up Boss for Barry or Gabe's smart lists, and they'll load those up for you. Like,
just tell them you are our personal friends, and they will do it for you.
Yeah, but it's so amazing.
It shifts your entire mindset and business model. And we've actually changed it in our recruiting as well to where we really just want agents to respond to inbound activity. There really is no prospecting. You're literally only responding to inbound activity and offering service. So it literally changes everything. Barry and I teach this every Thursday, and we already have, or it was on there and it carried forward an entire session. I can't remember if it's in boot camp or the other day, but we were going to spend a significant amount of time on this at Summit, because it is game changing on how basically Ylopo creates opportunity, creates leads, creates activity, and then it sends it to the CRM. Then the CRM allows you to dish it up. Now, how are you utilizing that for your day to day? And that's really how you start to build that tech stack and have it go to work for you. And that's really what we're wanting to teach you.
And the byproduct of not doing this. So if you don't do this and you don't create lists that filter out all the noise, the thing that made you want to buy Ylopo, which is the people are coming back to you, instead of leveraging that and making money off of that, you say things to yourself like, oh, I have so many alerts, or there's so much noise, or I wish that it would stop telling me. And it's because your CRM is not organizing the crazy and making it easy for you. And so you've got to understand that you're leaving money on the table because you haven't used what's supposed to simplify your life, which is the CRM.
Yeah, it's huge. How did our hour already go by? Holy crap.
Great session. Great session, guys.
Holy smokes. Sweet. Any parting thoughts? We're gonna go into a 30-minute break here real quick. We'll love any parting thoughts. Michael, Brian, you guys want to share? Barry?
Hold on. By the way, there was Angela had a good question because I kind of thought about it. She said, can you do some training before Summit? I need this training like ASAP for my brokerage, and April's a long way away for me to implement. So Barry, Gabe, can you kind of respond to Angela?
The link to the masterclass. That's what I was very selfish. I made it for my agents, so I didn't have to train.
It's
posted in there. It's in there. Yeah. Links in there. The other thing is there's also a Thursday class, guys. There's a Thursday class that Barry and I do every week. Literally the entire hour is just spent on creating lists to tell you where to focus. So that every week that's also there, so you don't have to wait.
I really liked what Mike and Brian were saying about the nuance of the lender. I thought that's my parting shot. That's something I'm taking away because I think that they're taking an opportunity and they're making it better, whereas other agents are squandering those opportunities. I'm saying, hold on a second, I might have someone, and those are the agents that make more money. So I really like that, guys.
True.
Michael, anything else you want to add before we end?
Just real quick, Barry, I love those lists. That's amazing. And my high C was just going off the chart, loving all of it. In practical implementation, we've kind of gone the other way with it. We only have 3 lists. We have past clients, people we're in a relationship with, and people we haven't met yet, which are our ponds. And then we just have it sorted by last contact and just rip and burn. So our VAs go through and they make sure people we're in relationship with that we intend to sell a property to at some point in time or intend to list their property, they're getting some sort of a touch every single week, no matter what. That's it.
What would a touch sound like or look like for that?
Yep. Call, text, email. Don't care.
But what's the actual message?
Yeah, I mean, it could be like I saw one in the CRM the other day, which I thought was hilarious. It was forwarding the Apple event for this upcoming Monday from like an email this morning or last night or whatever it was, and saying, "Hey, just wanted you to know that new MacBook is coming out that we were talking about the other day. By the way, how's everything going?" And that was it.
Scott Tremblay yesterday, session 1, was talking about he tracks the bust rate, which is something I had not heard that term before, which is kind of, like someone they're working with, or they're I think even potentially even an escrow, like the deals don't close. But I think we can expand that notion of bust rate. Like you've got this A list of people that you're going to work with. Yeah. And by staying in touch with them, present with them, that's going to minimize the percentage of those people that end up going and doing something with someone else. That's really great.
For us, it's get to 100 of those and then maintain that contact relationally every single week. I mean, and just like with Facebook, your mom does not want to see the post of all your homes that you're selling. She wants to see what's going on with the kids. Clients are the same way.
Yep.
Clients are actually the same way. You got to get into a relationship, get into Fort fast, because people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Right.
But Michael, when your VAs are doing this, aren't you sorting based off of one of the 3 Ylopo lists?
No.
I was just going to tell him, Michael, hit me up after this. So I pre-built in FirePoint. There are 3 like smart lists built in. I'll show you how to use them.
No, those are our, that's a great point. Those are ISAs use when they're calling and they're booking appointments. because we found it most effective to have our ISAs called through those. Our general ponds with our agents, just agents alone, between like all the unmet leads or untouched leads or we haven't gotten contact with, we're averaging about 90,000 contacts or 90,000 efforts per month between call and text messages. So these guys are definitely getting hit all over the place. And then once they get in a relationship and they bring it into their own, right? They claim it. Just like, I think you do that in Follow Up Boss too. We do it in Firepoint. Then they have to maintain a weekly contact with them. I don't care what the weekly contact is. It could be like, hey, how was the kids' soccer game? Great. That's an awesome contact. I'm good with that.
Love it.
We're looking to make friends. That's what we're looking to do.
Yep.
Awesome.
Relationships, not leads. That's what you're
Guys,
looking
I gotta run. I've got another webinar that started 5 minutes ago. Appreciate everybody being on this panel. It was a great group. I learned tons of stuff. Michael, great to meet you. I don't think we've met before.
Likewise.
Guys,
Thank you, Brian.
appreciate you.
Brian, thank you.
Yeah, my thought is this as I leave, your database is everything. Organize it. And I don't care if you use Michael's system, my system, Gabe's, it doesn't matter. You have to have a system or otherwise you're just hoping and praying. And the database is your business. So that's my thought. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.